All right, everybody, we're going to get started with the meeting. Folks in the hallway, if you want to take a seat. Everybody, could you please get settled? Thank you, everybody, and welcome to the regular monthly meeting of the Mayor and Council being held Wednesday, March 11, 2026, starting at 6:34 p.m. Missy, could you please call the roll?
Mayor Nunziato.
Here.
Council President McGowan.
Present.
Councilman Coakley. Councilman Errico.
Here.
Councilman Guzman.
Here.
Councilwoman Del Ricon.
Here.
Councilman Mazzone.
Here.
Thank you. If you're able, please stand for the salute to the flag. I pledge allegiance Missy, could you please read the provisions of the Open Public Meeting Act?
In compliance with the Open Public Meetings Law, Chapter 231, Public Laws of 1975, notice of this meeting was transmitted to the Record and Herald News and filed with the Borough Clerk on November 21, 2025, and February 27, 2026, and is posted on the bulletin board outside of Borough Hall.
Thank you. We have no presentations this evening. We'll now move on to the engineer's report.
Thank you, Mayor. I want to start off with giving a couple updates to the Memorial Park improvements. Our office has been coordinating with the co-op vendor to schedule some sanitary sewer work. This work is to relocate the sanitary sewer that currently runs underneath the future improved Diamond 3 multi-use field. And we're relocating this in agreement with Passaic Valley Sewer. Since in our agreement, they want to have all the sanitary sewer outside of the limits of the field. Currently, it would be underneath it. So we're doing this in anticipation of the work that's going to be scheduled this upcoming summer. We received pricing this week, and we're currently reviewing their pricing. And we're going to be negotiating with them to see if it is reasonable and if we need to procure other vendors and see if we can get them scheduled as soon as possible. In addition to that, we've also been following up with NJDP with the status of permitting for the site itself. We have actually gotten in contact with them late this afternoon. It sounds like they are very close to be approving the permit and issuing paperwork for us. So just some minor stuff, and I think we're very close to closing that item off this list. Leisure Lane improvements. I know Brian from my office has been sending stuff regarding concepts, and also I believe he's going to be starting procuring pricing for those improvements as well. This will be a resurfacing of the existing pathway in a blue and gray pathway coating. Moving on to the Tamblin playground improvements, we've reached out to First Environment, who is a vendor, who is a qualified vendor to investigate removing the oil tank that's present within the site. The site has the oil tank previously heated by oil, converted to natural gas. We need to, because this is DEP funded, we need to remove the oil tank before we can begin any work on that playground. Moving on to the roadway improvements that are, I know our office has sent over preliminary scope for 2026. This will be for the DOT portion, Darwin Avenue, Hastings Avenue, CDBG funded portion of Wingra Avenue, and an alt bid of Morse Avenue and Montrose Avenue. Yeah, Montrose Avenue, sorry. We'll be beginning to look at designing that, and we'll send over estimates. Hopefully we can get that out early summer construction, depending on DOT review and approval. For the 25 roadway improvements, we coordinating with the contractor, we had a site walkthrough meeting with them last week on Friday. And with that meeting, it looks like we're going to be mobilizing early this spring, probably mid-April. And those roads will be finishing out Wood Street, Irving Place, and Fairview Avenue, Hobart Avenue, Donaldson Avenue, and Sylvan Avenue. 2024 roadway improvements program, it's also scheduled to continue early this spring at the same time, mid-April, and that'll be B Street is completed, Inslee Avenue, Carneer Avenue, and Clark Avenue. That's all I have for updates.
Thank you. Anybody from the council have any questions for the engineer? Council?
Thank you for your report. Although I don't suspect you'll have this information this evening, but if possible, if you could circulate back to us through Brian the anticipated start date for the Tamberlin Together Playground, that would be great. Thank you.
Thank you. Seeing nobody else has any questions, thank you. You're good to go.
Thank you.
The next item we have is a resolution for closed session and potential litigation. Missy?
Whereas the Open Public Meetings Act requires that a public body adopt a resolution at an open meeting before going into a closed session to discuss a matter which excludes the public as permitted under Section 7B. Now therefore be it resolved that the mayor and council will hold a closed meeting at 6:41 p.m. on March 11, 2026 at 176 Park Avenue to discuss the following matter, potential litigation.
Thank you. I'll now accept the motion to go into closed.
Motion?
I'm sorry. Motion by Councilman Mazzone. We have a second?
Second.
Second by Councilman Guzman. Any questions or comments? Seeing none, may I have a roll call, please?
Council President McGowan? Yes. Councilman Errico?
Yes.
Councilman Guzman?
Yes.
Councilwoman Del Rey Cohen?
Yes.
Councilman Mazzone?
Yes.
Thank you. All right, folks, we're going to go back in. I know you guys are upset that we didn't take longer. All right, we're going to be back in open. Missy, could you please read the roll?
Mayor Nunziato.
Here.
Council President McGowan.
Present.
Councilman Errico.
Here.
Councilman Guzman.
Here.
Councilman Del Rey-Cohn.
Here.
Councilman Mazzone.
Here.
Yes, we'll be adding one item under consent agenda. It'll be item 11, item C under 11, a resolution for payment of bills number 2. That's all I have.
Thank you. Anybody from the council? None? Motion?
Motion.
Motion by Council President, may I have a second?
Second.
Second by Council. Seeing none, may I have a roll call, please?
Council President McGowan.
Yes.
Councilman Errico.
Yes.
Councilman Guzman.
Yes.
Councilman Del Rey-Cohn.
Yes.
Councilman Mazzone.
Yes.
Thank you. Ordinances on first read, Councilman Guzman.
Thank you very much, Mayor. This ordinance that I have on first read may look familiar. It's because there was a publication error by a newspaper, did not get it in by the deadline, therefore we are reintroducing this ordinance. To establish a handicap space on Ayer Place. Missy, could you please read the ordinance by title only?
In order to amend and revise Chapter 126, Vehicles and Traffic of the Borough Code of the Borough of Rutherford, established a handicap space on Ayer Place.
I'd like to motion to move, I'd like to move that the ordinance be passed on first reading and advertised according to law.
I have a motion by Councilman Guzman. May I have a second, please?
Second.
Second by Council President. Any questions or comments? Seeing none, may I have a roll call, please?
Council President McGowan.
Yes.
Councilman Errico.
Yes.
Councilman Guzman.
Yes.
Councilwoman Del Rey-Cohn.
Yes.
Councilman Mazzone.
Yes.
Thank you. Before we start the ordinances on second read, I'm going to turn it over to our Borough Administrator.
Thank you, Mayor. So yes, tonight we have two ordinances regarding affordable housing issues. As I understand, most of the people in the room tonight are here regarding that. They must have received your 200-foot notice. This is a very complicated but required process we're going through right now. So we've asked our attorney who's representing us on affordable housing matters to be here tonight to explain and hopefully address a lot of your questions and to your satisfaction. So tonight I want to introduce Brian Chikaski from the law firm of Cleary, Jacoby, Alfieri, and Jacobs. And Brian will speak to what these two ordinances mean tonight.
Thank you, Bob. I guess we have to start a little bit at the beginning. The Fair Housing Act was amended and created a very difficult burden on municipalities. This process basically started in 2024 because by 2025, in order to participate in a program and maintain immunity from builder's remedies suit, declaratory judgment action had to be filed by January 31st, 2025. That declaratory judgment established what the obligations of the municipality would be. In October of 2024, there were numbers published by the Department of Community Affairs, and Rutherford had to make a determination whether to accept or reject those numbers. Those numbers were accepted. Then the hard work began is how do you address that? That's addressed by your professional planners from the Neglia Group who started preparing a housing element fair share plan. And what is that document? That document tells you how you're going to address the affordable housing. One aspect of that is a vacant land analysis to determine what the realistic development potential of Rutherford would be. After that, that realistic development potential, if it was accepted, would result in a number that is classified as unmet need, which I'll talk about a little bit in a little bit. That housing element fair share plan under the law had to be adopted by June 30th of 2025. That was done. Once that was filed, challengers to the housing element fair share plan were required to file any of their objections by August 31st, 2025. There were two objections. One was by Russo Development with respect to a property under the jurisdiction of the Sports and Exposition Authority, and the other was the Housing Advocate Fair Share Housing Center. So Rutherford's not unique. Fair Share Housing Center filed more than 400 challenges to Housing Elements Fair Share plans throughout the state. The legislation created what was called the program. The program consisted of a retired judge and a special adjudicator who is a professional planner to assist the judge for review and recommendations. The program judge assigned to Rutherford was Judge Hansberry, the special adjudicator Beth McManus. There were several mediation sessions held. The last mediation session held on December 15th of last year. There was no settlement. So the program, the judge, was supposed to make a determination by January 31st of 2026. As of today, there is no determination. And that determination is a recommendation to the Mount Laurel judge in Bergen County as to what that judge would believe whether our housing element and fair share plan is in compliance. So this is the most important aspect. There has been no such determination. However, there is a hard and fast date in the fair share, the amendments to the Fair Housing Act. And that hard date is March 15th, but since March 15th is Sunday, it's March 16th. So compliance documents had to be adopted in place by March 15th, and because there may be some time for publication and effectiveness, it was March 31st. But governing bodies had to act by the 15th. So that's why we're here this evening. So what was determined between our office, the municipality, the planners? It was determined that irrespective that there was no determination by the program judge, that Rutherford would undertake the actions necessary to be in compliance. So what's before you this evening are 2 ordinances and 2 resolutions. Working backwards, the resolutions basically establish a process regarding an affirmative marketing plan for affordable housing that may be developed in the community, and another resolution regarding a spending plan. That spending plan deals with how money collected from developers that is currently in an affordable housing trust fund will be dealt with. The 2 ordinances you have, again, working backwards, you have an affordable housing, let's call it the administrative ordinance. There's an ordinance, in fact, in Rutherford already for the 3rd round. We are in the 4th round. This ordinance updates the rules and regulations governing affordable housing consistent with the regulations that have been promulgated by the Department of Community Affairs. Now, probably why all you are here tonight is the last ordinance, which creates overlay zones. You're here because the law requires, if there is a change in zoning, that people within 200 feet or that are affected by that change in classification receive notice. So you have to get written notice of the ordinance. So what does this ordinance do? It establishes overlays. What is an overlay? An overlay is in addition to. The underlying zoning is not affected. The uses that currently exist can be continued. And if the underlying zoning would permit other uses, that also can continue. Why is this being done? And Luke, you're going to have to help me with the number because I forget off the top of my head. We have an unmet need number. Under the amendments to the Fair Housing Act, a municipality must make an effort to address 25% of its unmet need. And I believe the number we had to reach was 47. Am I right, Luke?
Luke, can you just stand up by the mic for this little?
Yeah, so the full unmet need, I'm Luke, planner with Neglia Group.
Okay, take your time.
The unmet need is 157 after the VLA, and 25% of that would be 40 units.
40 units. Okay. So what was decided to do was to look at properties that may address that unmet need. And again, the unmet need is you can't zone areas where properties would be developed in accordance with your vacant land analysis. Years ago, and you can look at my hair and you know I've been doing this a long time, years ago, that was the end of it. If you went into COA or you went into court and said, this is our realistic development potential, that's what you had to address. Now there's a specific provision in the Fair Housing Act that said you need to address 25% of your unmet need, and you could do that with overlays. So it's aspirational, not required. So these two sites were determined to be appropriate because of their location, where they are, and perhaps could be developed. First site is on Park Avenue. That is the old police department. That's 184 Park Avenue. And that is under control of the municipality. If the municipality makes a determination that it would like that site developed, it would have to go through a full process, public bidding and the like, and also pursuant to that bid, it would be subject to certain requirements. But there was a determination that since it was underutilized, it was something that could achieve that 25% of the unmet need. The other project is on, or the other property is on Orient Way, 44 Orient Way. It's an office building, it's the columns. Our research has indicated that the bulk of that building is occupied primarily by medical providers. So the viewpoint we have that although this permits the potential for housing, that potential for housing may never occur. I don't like to say never, but you know, we're looking at it. I look at a viable office building. Someone would have to look at that and make a determination as to whether it would make sense to be a housing site. The number of units on that site would approximately be, I should say, the number of units on that Orient Way site would be 74. The law has changed. We have no discretion. There has to be a 20% set aside for affordable housing. So rounding up to 75, you got 15 units of affordable, you have 60 market units. Office buildings do not adapt to residential. Building would have to come down. So it would take a significant investment for this to change. With regard to the police department, that's under the control, or I should say the old police department building, that's under control of the municipality. The densities that were established in those overlay zones were intended to meet that 25% requirement. That 25% requirement is, it says if you cannot meet that, you have to establish by sort of like exceptional circumstances why you couldn't meet that 25% of unmet need. So it's something new. It's something what I consider unique as part of the amendments to the Fair Housing Act, but that's the purpose. So there are no developers. There's only an opportunity that these sites could potentially be developed, and you know, hopefully I addressed the two sites appropriately. And as I've indicated, the densities for those two areas, and they're not big sites, were designed to address the 25% unmet need. So I have, Mayor.
Thank you. So basically, if I'm interpreting this correctly, we have no plans. We're just following what the state's saying as far as a prep. But we are, if anybody ever did come along to try to move into an office building that's occupied, they would have to go through the same procedures as anybody else, go before our boards, follow our ordinances so nothing changes, and we're not really looking for that ever to happen here. So we're just following the law right now and preparing the paperwork, but we have, none of this is anything that we're looking to do. We're just trying to stay compliant with state requirements, correct?
That's correct, Mayor, and I just want to add, perhaps, if I may, what comes after this. So unfortunately, I have way too many towns, but let's talk about Bergen County. Bergen County has 70 municipalities. There are 2 specific judges assigned to Mount Laurel litigation in Bergen County, Judge Coriston and Judge Padovano. There are cases that the program has disposed of through settlements, and they are required to have hearings. There are cases, and I have one case in Bergen County that didn't settle. So that will go through a much more difficult process. And then you have the most unique case in the world, which is Rutherford, because we don't even have a program decision. So we can't say we're good, we're bad, or not. But what we're taking is we're being proactive to deal with this. What happens next? What happens next is that if these ordinances and resolutions are adopted this evening, we will alert the court and file them accordingly and be prepared to deal with what happens at the next step. There will probably be a hearing, but no one could point the finger and say Rutherford did not do what it was required to do by March 15th. It was expected, whether we had a program decision or not, that these actions would have been taken anyway. So in anticipation of what we perceive and what we think would occur, this is how it's being addressed. We knew that there were certain areas that had to be addressed in the original Housing Element Fair Share Plan, and those have been updated and addressed. These ordinances and resolution implement all what we would call the compliance documentation.
Thank you. Want to speak to now?
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Brian, for that explanation. And Mayor, thank you for surmising the salient points that I think people care about very much that are here. And I think it is worth noting that there is a real concern, there's a real caution in this room from residents about development and about feeling like it's being done to them and not with them. And I want to address that in advance to say that we are keenly aware of that. That is why we have retained the services of Brian's firm and have really taken, I think, an appropriate and aggressive approach with Fair Share. Those of you that have been following this for the years that this has gone on, this is, for some of you, it's new. This has been going on a number of years. The rules keep changing, and it is very complicated, and it is very frustrating. And I want to share, I think I'm speaking on behalf of my colleagues, we're all in this frustration with you. But we are grateful for the professionals that we have brought on board, and certainly with our stewardship of our borough attorney of Jonathan Bruno for really helping us navigate the last few months. And I do, as I'm about to introduce this, I just felt that it was imperative to acknowledge the frustration and concern in the room, know that it is a shared frustration and concern, but we also understand the fiduciary responsibility that there is a compliance deadline. And without meeting that compliance deadline, we open the borough up to liability. And as we're learning from what we're watching happening to other municipalities, it's not a game worth playing. And so I thank everybody up here. Mayor, thank you for leading us through this. And so with your permission, I would like to move forward with the ordinances.
Ordinances on second read, Council President.
Thank you, Mayor. The first ordinance, as was already introduced by our attorney, is amending Chapter 131, Affordable Housing Overlay Districts, to include Park Avenue and Orient Way to be in compliance with our deadline of March 15th. Missy, can you please read the ordinance by title only?
An ordinance to amend Chapter 131 of the Borough Code entitled Zoning, and in particular, Chapter 131, Article 13, General Regulations to include Park Avenue overlay and Orient Way overlay.
Thank you. I move that the ordinance be passed on second reading and advertised according to law.
I have a motion by the council president. May I have a second?
Second.
Second by Councilman Guzman. Any questions or comments? Seeing none from the council, Councilman.
I just wanted to say, it feels like a lot of you are here about this, and now we're voting on it, and then you're going to tell us what your concerns are. So I just wanted to acknowledge that the order of the agenda, but I encourage you to still ask your questions, simply because we do have Brian here. It is very complicated. I also want to stress, I don't think it can be overstated what the mayor said, which is, this is meeting an obligation, a statutory obligation. This does not mean anything is getting built. And I think that's important because there is a process for building, and our hope, I'll speak for myself. My hope is that we never need to make use of these overlay zones, right? We're sort of trying to meet terrible options with worse ones, and that's where we are. But please do, despite the fact that the ordinance is being voted on now, that doesn't mean you shouldn't ask your questions, because I think it's important for us to hear from you.
Thank you, Councilman. Anybody from the public wishing to speak?
Oh, the public, oh, great. Second reading, so they'll speak before we vote. Well, why did I say any of that?
I screwed up. I went here.
Oh my
instead of
gosh,
there
I can't
first.
wait to hear from all of you. Please, come forward. That feels so much better now. The system works, guys.
Councilwoman, that was my fault. I didn't go that way.
I was
went
so
this way.
confused.
My fault.
And Denise is ready, so let's do it.
I know that theirs is going to be a lot different than mine with regard to this, so I figured, let me get this out of the way. Yes, it is about the ordinance. Are you going to be counting my 5 minutes? No. Denise Corradini, 1 Walnut Street. First of all, I don't envy the task that you guys have. I'm not going to speak about the overlay zones themselves, but that the way this is being put together, and I understand you're between a rock and a hard place. One thing that we are not addressing through this is parking. And I had hoped that the police station would become a municipal parking area because of its location. It's perfect for that. But instead, and again, I understand the rock and a hard place. This is the way it's being offered. But I also look at the old Capital One building, and it's going to be another bank. Why isn't, I don't know how that process works, but that's a perfect place for housing also. And I question whether we can't be more proactive in addressing this. And the situation is further exacerbated from a parking standpoint by employees who are taking spots that should be reserved for patrons and other autos that are hogging spots, including handicap spots, all day long. And I have heard from business owners that their businesses are being directly affected by this, with customers saying, I was going to come, but I couldn't find a parking spot, and I didn't have time to walk from one end of town to the other. We have to address this. The bottom line is we know that you struggle with how to resolve this issue, and we desperately need those solutions. Parking needs to come into play along with the affordable housing. I know that every housing unit has parking in it, but it's never enough. It's not enough for the residents and their guests, let alone parking for people who want to visit here, who would spend money in our restaurants, who would buy from our stores. We need to start hearing that there are solutions in the works. Thank you.
Thank you, Denise. Anybody else from the public? Please state your name and address.
Good
5
evening.
minutes or less, please.
Yes, good evening. Lane Viviano, 1 Orient Way, Law Office, 8 Station Square. Earlier today, I dropped off and emailed my concern with regard to the ordinance. I don't know if you received it. I mean, I know you received it if you had the time to look at it. Well, the reason I'm asking is I'll paraphrase and keep it shorter if you have, okay? If not, I'll just do the highlight. I'll do the highlights, okay? One of the things I want to drop off in the interim is that we're concerned about Prism developers who want to put 130 units, squeeze a space which not only would block skylines, be on top of everybody, create congestion, and as I elucidated in my correspondence, do you have a question? Oh.
Mr. Viviano, we're not at that read yet. We're on the first read. So if you have any comments for the first read that we just did,
Okay.
you'd have to wait till we do the second
No,
one.
there's a second reading on 131, right?
On this ordinance. There's this ordinance and this ordinance only.
Isn't this the overlay, or is that the next one?
This is
The
overlay.
overlay.
Mayor, I think his,
You already introduced it, did you not?
his concern is relevant to this, even though it might be he might be misunderstanding what this is about. It is relevant to this ordinance, though, so.
Continue. You can
Sorry?
continue.
No, I understand that.
All right, go ahead.
But we're-
Please continue.
Put it this way, as Brian, sorry, I didn't pronounce your last name, is that the people at 1 Orient Way, there's 48 residential units, it's a condominium, we should have gotten notice. We know we're not within 200 feet, but we're 2 doors away, 2 buildings away, and it certainly will impact us, and that did not happen. As I said, the concern is with, I'll give the short version. The concern is the developer, as I said, wants to place 130 units. We're going to certainly look for it and appeal to whatever, there's a whole variety of appeals, not just with the zoning, but also with the issue of the problems of the site. And it'll end up being a war zone. Briefly, it took 4 years, and it shouldn't have, for Boiling Springs to build 48 units in the building. It will definitely take a lot longer considering the water issues with Boiling Springs by the train station, and of course Glen Lake, which I mentioned last time, which is Glen Road now, in the Williams Center, which they filled in 100 years ago or more because they were concerned about malaria from mosquitoes. But that water is there, and it's a very high water table. And everyone has jurisdiction. What do I mean by everyone? From the Army Corps of Engineers to the Sports and Exposition Authority, the county, DEP, EPA, the county, the borough, and I might be leaving out 1 or 2. There's a lot going on. It will adversely affect the people that are living there, residing there. And as I said, it will adversely affect our views of the skyline. If I can, I have pictures. Can I hand them to you, submit them to you? Okay, it's 2 separate, came out a little dark, but I think you can get the perspective. And again, I'm on the 3rd floor, so others have even more to lose. People, this is, to round up, this is their life-saving. This is everything they've worked for. And now it's about to just be taken over. Without prejudice to anyone that we live with, my view is you want 26 units, the affordable units, go for it. It's all the other housing that's the concern. I have no issue with I understand what the law is. I'm a long-time lawyer, all right? That's not the issue. The issue, to repeat, is trying to stuff 130 units. That can't happen. It's like 104 more units over and above. So there will have to be a solution, or we'll be doing some kind of an appeal process, but I wanted to give you the courtesy to explain as to what the position is. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Viviano. Anybody else from the public wishing to speak on this subject, in this subject matter only? Please step up to the microphone, ma'am. Please state your name and address and keep your comments to 5 minutes or less.
And DeSantis, but my address is protected under Daniel's law. I cannot give it at this time. I just want a clarification. The lawyer stated the address at 44 Orient Way, which would be residential buildings, not the Boiling Spring Bank, which I understand is the building in question. Is that correct? No, what?
No, the building is the address of that building, that for the overlay is between Boiling Springs and the other redevelopment. I'm finding it now, 44 Orient Way is the way it's listed on the tax records. So it's it's the office building, the columns.
The Columns Building is 47 Orient Way.
Well, I went by the tax records when I looked at it, but that's the
Well, I
building.
just want to clarify which building you want to
Yeah,
redevelop. Because,
Ma'am, we're not talking about redeveloping anything, we're just talking about Norton Trespassing, but we do
Okay,
not
but
do back,
obviously-
we do not do back and forth dialogue, so you may speak, but we don't go back and forth.
well, I want to know which building.
Good evening. I would like to make sure we're talking about this area.
Excuse me,
right?
can you,
Oh,
sorry, but you have to say your name and address, please.
I'm sorry. Yeah, my name is Calliope Pajuntis. I'm the owner of 19 Feronia Way, Rutherford, right by Erie and the Boiling Springs Center, right behind it, next to the vacant lot, the parking. That's my house. Okay, 1983, I moved in the area. I remember exactly how it used to be. It was an eyesore, okay? And I am for progress. I like improvements, and we do need housing, but not overextend, okay? We need to keep Rutherford as nice as it was then. There's ways that we can put townhouses all along the railroad tracks, you know, like the Carton Hills Renaissance in East Rutherford, condominiums with little balconies and everything, 3 floors. I think it would look very nice. The trains will go by and they see a nice view. And if we need more housing, we have plenty of land on the other side of the highway of Route 17. And we can keep small shuttle buses coming into town, so that way we don't have all that traffic. There are solutions, as long as there is a will. Okay, that's what I want everybody to understand. Residents and the board and everybody else. We cannot stop progress. We have to move forward. But how are we going to do it so it will be safe and it will look nice? And we keep, when I say I'm from Rutherford, New Jersey, everybody says, wow, you're from Rutherford. That's what we need. Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am. Anybody else from the public wishing to speak?
David Labruno, 423 Stuyvesant. Just a few questions, and then hopefully someone will be able to answer them. As I understand it, the fair share that we're talking about is set by state statute, so who passes that stuff? I mean, we're saying none of us are responsible, yet we endorse, we help elect officials who impose these then on us, and then we say, what are we going to do? So I just find it interesting. And then secondly, maybe, I don't know, maybe you could tell us who passes these things, and then how can we get this changed if we're also against it? Maybe we could have a resolution that protests to the state or elected officials. Maybe that's something that we could do as a municipal body or representatives of the municipal body. Then I also would note some of the numbers that came out, and the attorney over here said that, you know, it's not going to happen. It would never happen because it's not, it's already rented out building with class whatever, C, commercial space. And yet we have a development next door that came, or development to come, probably in a couple of weeks, everybody. A development next door that's talking about not being able to rent out grade A commercial space for the past 3 years, and so they want a redevelopment. Well, they'll put in 130 units with 74 unit density per acre, exactly the one that we're doing on this overlay, and that gives you 130 units. You also said, maybe you could confirm these numbers for me, that the police station, and we wanted to get 40 units because we have to get 25% of 157, with which we're shy of. And you get that by doing the police station, which gives you 74 units on that little acreage, which will give us 14 affordable. And then to get the other 26 is why we have this columns project. And so to get 26, that requires 174 units of affordable housing when we do apartments. So just maybe you could confirm my numbers, because I'm not so great with numbers. So it seems like with these two projects, you know, money talks is the way that it works. That's become my experience. And the Columns project has relatively worse commercial space for rentals. And the better commercial space, the developer tells us they can't do it. So when they empty that building, then that project would happen. It would seem to make economic sense. But I don't know if our lawyer is an economic advisor. Maybe he can tell us about those things, because it seems, I don't know, maybe it's me, maybe I don't know how the world works. The project over here at the police station, though, is on this zone to be 100% affordable housing. I note that that isn't the percentage that's on this ordinance for the Columns property. Only the police station says 100% affordable housing. So I don't know, why is that different, I wonder. Also, you say that we need to adopt this now, and it seems like a cart before the horse, chicken before the egg sort of thing, right? The judge has to validate the numbers, but and the numbers, maybe they're wrong, maybe they're right, but we're putting in a plan and adopting all this stuff to say, what, worst case scenario? I guess just trying to understand the logic that's going on here. The 100% affordable housing also, though, compliance with that, according to various legal articles out there that one could find, you need this plan. The plan, the state requires, the Constitution, the law about creating a realistic opportunity, what you said. And so now we're saying a realistic opportunity is you must change your zoning to allow 25%. Like, we have permissive zoning right now, and the market will do what the market does. And we have pilots that we've given out to juice that along the ways. So I guess, you know, the whole thing is very confusing, and our elected officials seem to have the incentives backwards. You have 15% affordable housing if it's rentals. You only require 15%. But if it's condominiums, you require 20%. So what are we incentivizing? The creation of apartments? You all will read the news and you see how people in this current time can't get on the property ladder, can't afford to get a house. So then we incentivize the developers to make
Mr. LeBruni, you're at
apartments.
5 minutes. I'll let you finish up.
Thank you. So I think that incentive is actually backwards, and I think it's something we should have some kind of resolution to our elected officials about why this is all so very messed up. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else from the public wishing to speak?
Maya Cruz, 37 Feronia Way. I'm a lifelong resident and own the house that I grew up in. Bought it from my parents after they passed away. I'm really nervous, so sorry. Just want to clarify a few things if you can help me with. I've been in that house for as long as the Columns has been around. It was built right the same time my parents moved me here. And maybe it's a dinosaur, maybe I am too. But what I'm not understanding, because today's the first day I've heard about potential redevelopment of the Columns to knock it down and build something else, is the Columns owners, are they looking to sell? It doesn't sound like it from what I'm hearing from the council. So, but what I'm not understanding is why are those the only two properties that we're talking about? I mean, from what I understand, there's these other behemoths everywhere, the Agnew project and maybe the Boiling Springs project. I'm sure something's going there. Why are those not in consideration for affordable housing and spread it out? I don't understand. But it does seem to me, and it feels like our train hub is under attack, and there are giant boxes being put everywhere we look around. It feels like you can't breathe anymore because we can't move. You can't go to the corner without getting stuck in traffic immediately. There's commuters you see every day just ditching their car on our street and heading up to the Orient Way. So it's like we're already in battle, and then to picture all this additional life around us, we don't even know what the effects of the East Rutherford side are going to bring us, but that will surely bring extra traffic to us. And it's just frustrating because, you know, just because our houses are real near the train, we deserve a quality of life too. And the one comment that I would like to make, and I don't know if it's appropriate because it's about the Boiling Springs thing and that stupid triangle on the corner. I don't understand why anybody would ever think to develop that. That used to be the road, and that little triangle was actually built in order to alleviate us from traffic. So now the thought of putting a 6-story brick wall at the end of our block that every time we walk out and look down the street, it's like we're living in a box, and it's only going to aggravate our traffic situations. So that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else from the public wishing to speak? Seeing none, I'm going to close it to the public and open up for any council comment. Councilwoman.
Thank you, Mayor. So I'm gonna work out of order. I'm first gonna thank everyone for being here and speaking to this. I'm gonna start with Mr. LeBruno because I'm always struck, Mr. LeBruno, when you say things like, maybe I don't know how the world works. It like feels like what I say to my 17-year-old when he's being really difficult. And that troubles me because you're always sort of implying some sort of sinister motive by the council, and I take umbrage with it myself. I am an attorney. I would never compromise my ethics for this gig for which we get paid $3,000 a year. I would never compromise my day job for this gig for which we get paid $3,000 a year. So any implication that the cart or the horse is carrying some gold bars that are getting us to build these buildings is really, really frustrating. So, well, you didn't not say it though. And so I think your exact words were money talks. Money's not talking to me in this situation.
Mr. LeBruno, she's speaking, you got to speak.
Yes, you said money talks, and money's not talking to any of us in this situation. I think where you're correct is that this is a really, to use Ms. Cruz, to use her words, this is a very frustrating situation. Unequivocally, undeniably frustrating situation. And where we are right now is, Mr. LeBruno posed, why can't we pass a resolution that says we're not going to do this? Because we would never pass a resolution that says we're going to break the law. You shouldn't want us to do that. So why are we getting into compliance before there's a decision? Because deadlines are deadlines under the law. And just because the government, it's why they get to do what they do, I guess, at the state level, just because they haven't met their obligations doesn't mean we don't have to meet our obligations. I wish it was, because it's really unfair. We're sort of driving blind and deciding where we can put an overlay zone. I cannot stress enough how confusing I find it as a resident of only 8 years, so I'm not a lifelong resident, and I know that for a lot of people take issue with that. But in the time I've been here, the only buildings that have been built are the Parker 1 and 2. The only buildings. There is no Agnew. There is no Prism. There is no Columns project. There's none of that. None of that has happened. So I want us to really ground ourselves in the reality of what will be and what is possible. There are tons of maybe projects. The builders may build them, they may not. There are projects for which the builders don't even own the entirety of their property. That's why it's not getting built. The Prism project has been dead on arrival for a year, 2 years. I can appreciate that if all of this comes to fruition, we are changing the town. I want really all of us to think critically together. The overlay zones are possibilities, and he didn't say never, so I want to be sure Brian's words are clear. He didn't say they never would be built. But the likelihood of them getting built is extraordinarily small. So what were our two options? Our first option was, you all know, many of you know about the Russo project. It was a project that's like on the New Jersey Turnpike over green water. It's not zoned for residential. The NGSEA owns it. We would have really had our hands forced if we didn't at least come up with another option. These are terrible options in a frustrating situation. Ms. Cruz, I don't know what brick wall situation you're talking about. I'd like to know about it because I'm not sure the Boiling Springs project, I don't know which you're speaking of, so I don't want to speak to that. But I want us to just all get really clear on what's actually happening and what our choices are. Our choices are slim. I will be voting yes to the overlay zone because that gets us in compliance. There are no plans to develop the police building. Zero. None. There are no plans for a columns project. Zero. None. So we're not looking at us approving this, and then tomorrow you're going to see, cranes in the ground. Well, those would be diggers. Cranes lift, diggers dig. You would think my son was not as obsessed with trucks as he was, that I didn't know the difference. Don't tell him. But there are no immediate plans for anything. There are no even short-term plans for anything. We just have to get in compliance with the law. Mr. Biviano, I did read your letter. I read it on my walk to the bus. And so I appreciate all of the concerns you've been raising about the One Orient Way building, and I do appreciate your concerns as to if there is significant development that will change the quality of life. I don't know how, I'm not one to talk about property value. Maybe it will change the property value, maybe it won't. It's appreciated and understood, but again, I can't stress enough, I don't want you to be pushing so much energy into things that aren't happening. Nothing is currently happening on Orient Way. PRISM hasn't gotten back to us about anything. We are very responsive because we never want to seem like we're not compliant, but this isn't a project that anyone is pushing forward. We're not pushing it, they're not pushing it. Denise, with regards to, I'm sorry, Ms. Cordini, I probably shouldn't call you Denise from here, but with regards to parking, noted. If we had an option to just throw up a parking garage, we don't, right? The bank, I agree with you. Why another bank? We don't get to decide what businesses go into these properties. That is not our role. If it is zoned for a business, if a bank wants to go into a business where they own the property, we don't decide that they don't go there, right? The example a lot of people use with us is like, why so many Italian restaurants, which by the way, I'll note they're all quite different from one another, so it really is a different dining experience. But like, why another Italian restaurant? I don't know. We don't get to decide what else goes in there, right? I love having that many options. Some people don't. Why don't we have an Indian restaurant? I don't know. No one wants to put an Indian restaurant into some of these buildings. So I urge you to think about, we're doing the best we can with what we've got. And in this instance, the overlay zone is a creative solution to a problem that is impossible to solve for hundreds of municipalities, right? You're correct, Mr. LeBruno, this is state law. You're correct that we vote people into the state. You're correct that I'm sure most of us on the dais, if that was a dig about us all being Democrats, we voted this in. I could tell you our 6 little votes probably didn't matter all that much in getting the affordable housing statutes passed, but we are where we are. And finally, because my 5 minutes are for sure up. Finally, I believe in affordable housing, and I want to say that clearly. I believe in it. I believe in it actually in a town like this, not vast, huge buildings, but we are a transportation hub. It gives opportunities for all those families that can't afford, to live in a unattached one-family house to get to Rutherford, save some money, send their kids somewhere, do something, and it gets us there. And I do believe in that. I don't believe in having it jammed down our throats, which is what's happening now, but I do believe in it. So I want to be sure that I'm clear about that, because I'm not against affordable housing. I'm against legislators who don't understand what each individual town is about, deciding what we can and cannot do here. That's all.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Anybody else?
Thank you, Mayor. And thank you, Councilman. I think that was very well said. I just wanted to maybe add a bit to that or clarify. There were some comments made about, well, why doesn't this housing project, hypothetical project, go here or there or on the other side of Route 17 or whatever else? That is still possible. Anyone can propose any project in Rutherford. And that project, like any of the hypothetical projects, even the ones on these overlay zones, would still be subject to multiple bites at the apple by the public and by us and by our committees and boards to review. So any project that, more or less any project that comes before Rutherford for a major project, a major development or redevelopment, is still subject to almost certainly the planning board, the Board of Adjustments, and in some cases the council also. So to the extent that the public is concerned about future projects, this is not the opportunity to discuss them. There are many other opportunities to discuss them when we know what they could hypothetically be. So I just want to be clear that there are many, many opportunities for public comment at any hypothetical future project that might occur. And I do want to clarify that maybe there's some confusion about the prison project or the prison building, as the councilwoman mentioned. This overlay district is not inclusive of that building. So that's a completely different project. It's adjacent to the overlay district, but it is not, this overlay district does not include that building. That building, I believe, is Lot 15, and the overlay district does not include Lot 15. So that building, that project is subject, as I said before, to all manners of review that the public can comment on. It is not part of this overlay district to what extent that matters for the general public. So I do want to make it clear that we're not, that's a separate project entirely, and it's subject to whatever manner of review that our professionals and our committees and boards would subject it to. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilman.
Thank you very much, Mayor. I would echo the comments by my colleagues here. Well done, and I appreciate your efforts here to make sure we're all on the same page. We're faced daily with really difficult tasks, and it gets real difficult when you have the state that is demanding you perform or demanding you put up information before they make decisions. And timelines pass, it's okay for them, but it's not okay for us. We here, your local government, needs to be responsible. And I will tell you that this council and our professionals here and our mayor, we're responsible. If we are not, it's a very fine line. We could see builder's remedy come in here, which means they will tell us what they are building and how high they want to go. Okay? This is our efforts of putting our best foot forward and saying, we do have a plan. We are complying by your deadlines, even though we don't know what is going on. Okay? To Mr. Bruno's point, the cart before the horse. Yes, it is. Guess what? That's what the state is telling us to do. So we're complying. We're being responsible. So please understand, if our phone numbers and our email addresses are always published on the borough site. If you have a question or unsure of what is going on or what is being mentioned, email one of us. We'll get back to you. I'll even have, there's not one person here that won't sit down and have a cup of coffee with someone. If there is something you're not sure of before you go out on Facebook or social media, please, I urge you all, contact one of us. Get the facts. We can help. That's all I have for today. I appreciate you all. Thank you for coming, and I really appreciate the input. This is the way it's supposed to be. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councilman. Councilman?
Thank you. I'll be brief because I know my colleagues have covered quite a bit. First and foremost, thank you for coming out. Thank you for sharing your concerns, your frustrations on this issue. Being the newest member sitting on the dais, I will say this is complicated. There are many aspects of this to consider. As Councilman Guzman said, it's been a thoughtful process. We're certainly looking out for the best interest of this borough. I do appreciate Councilman Errico clarifying between the PRISM project and this. I think are important to differentiate that. I do support affordable housing. I don't like the cart before the horse. I don't like having it jammed down our throats, and I don't want other people telling us what should be in our municipality. That being said, I do agree with my colleagues. I believe we're acting responsibly in this instance. Thank you.
Thank you. Council President.
Thank you, Mayor. Yes, I also want to acknowledge everyone who spoke this evening. Thank you for your comments. I wanted to address two particularly, although have already tangentially been mentioned. I want to address them because they resonated very deeply with me. Ms. Cordini, I could not agree with you more that parking in this borough is problematic. It has been problematic for years. And every time we are looking at development, we're asking them to make the accommodations, they follow the regulations, but the reality is, once upon a time, I remember in my house growing up, we had one car for our whole family, right? And now if that family was, like if I was back in time, we probably have 5, right? And so I think about that. So that's not even just changing where these larger buildings are, it's also, it changes our side streets, our everything, right? Because we can't all fit in a driveway. How do we know this? We all just survived 3 feet of snow, and people came out and they said, how come the DPW went around cars? And they were like, well, I can't fit all my cars in the driveway, right? And that's how we start back on these conversations. So I bring it full circle to just say that I'm stealing your words, Councilwoman, but all these things can be true, right? The parking thing is in fact something that has to be in consideration at all times in every conversation. So yes, I wanted to come back to that. That needs to just be a yes, okay? That's a yes. And I hope that we continue to address that, including as we talk about overlay zones and where these places are. So yes. The second thing I wanted to swing back to that I felt was germane to this overlay conversation, I want to come back to the fact that this is round 4. That means there have been 3 prior rounds. So when we're talking about all these other projects, I say this not in criticism. I say this as like, this is a shot for us to share knowledge, right? So you may or may not be aware that in all of those rounds, this negotiation, this back and forth with the state, we need space. Where will you put it? We have this space. Okay, we have a developer. Well, they haven't developed. Well, that means you said you're going to do it, but you didn't produce it, right? Well, that went on for these 3 rounds. That went on for a good, 10 plus years. Well, now we're in round 4. And here's the reality, right? I know that our intentions have been the right ones. When we go through these things and we say they're in our rounds and we're meeting our obligation, we're really saying what we believe to be true. I can't speak that everybody's a good actor across the state, that everybody was doing this in the right form. Well, what happened? As my council colleagues pointed out, we have projects that come forward, they get approvals, but they don't move. They don't get built. But all of those numbers were put forward to the state over the last 10 years saying, look, Rutherford's really trying to meet our obligation. The challenge is now we're at round 4, and the state is not just looking at Rutherford, they're looking at, I don't know, how many we got, 600 and something municipalities, am I close? Yeah. 5 something, 600, I don't know, it's a whole lot, okay? We got all these municipalities, and they're saying, well, if everybody built what they were supposed to build, why don't we have enough housing? And the reality is, they're probably in the same boat we are. Projects said they were going to go, they didn't go. The market changed, they didn't buy the property, it got too expensive. Well, I don't know, there's a whole host of reasons why these projects start and stop. That doesn't diminish your frustration in this room right now. I share that really as a point of information to understand when we say, like, this isn't something that just happened, we're in round 4. The reason why, and Mr. Lubrino, I will end with, respectfully, you and I usually spar after the meeting, so I don't want to lose that momentum for us. I would be so disappointed. And I always welcome it, and you know that. But I do want to say, I just got to go there, okay? The reality is, we have to be compliant. I'm a taxpayer. You're a taxpayer. We're all taxpayers. You know where I don't want to spend my money on? No disrespect to the lawyers in the room. I'm not interested in paying the professionals hundreds of thousands of dollars, hear the number I said, by the way, to go defend why we didn't put something in on a deadline to meet a requirement because they didn't do their job. I'm not their boss. But you asked me to be ours sitting here. So what I'm going to do is my best to make sure whatever dollar you put in the coffer and whatever dollar I put in mine, that we're good stewards of it to the best decision we can make in this moment. Is it perfect? Probably not. So I apologize in advance. I'm sure next time you come to the meeting, you'll question why I just said what I said. Even better. And I welcome it, as always. But that's the truth of the matter, right? So for better or for worse, I always speak what I think to be the truth with you because that's how I'd want somebody to talk to me. So I just felt, Mayor, before we go forward with voting this, like I just want everyone, whether you're new to this conversation, you've been with us for years, whatever, I want you to have as much information as you can so you don't feel like you're being blindsided or you get some card in the mail and suddenly you think somebody's showing up with a shovel tomorrow. I think that's all I wanted to say. Thank you, Mayor.
Okay. Yeah. Missy, could you please read the roll?
Council President McGowan?
Yes.
Councilman Errico?
Yes.
Councilman Guzman?
Yes.
Councilman Del Rey-Cohen?
Yes.
Councilman Mazzone?
Yes.
Thank you. Next ordinance.
Thank you, Mayor. Continuing with what had been presented earlier, this is amending Chapter 51, which is updating our affordable housing. Missy, can you please read the ordinance by title only?
An ordinance repealing and replacing Chapter 51, Article 7, entitled Affordable Housing Production of the Code of the Borough of Rutherford to address the requirements of the Fair Share Act as amended and the Uniform Housing Affordable Controls as amended regarding compliance with the borough's affordable housing obligations.
Thank you. I'd like to move the ordinance be passed on second reading and advertised according to law.
I have a motion by the Council President. May I have a second?
Second?
Second by Councilman Del Rey-Cohen. At this point, I'll now open it up again for the public for any public comment. Anybody from the public wishing to speak?
Oh, I'm sorry, not this ordinance. Sorry, I thought I could already talk to Stephanie, sorry.
Close it to the public and now open it up for any council comment. Seeing none, may I have a roll call, please?
Council President McGowan?
Mayor, before I vote, I up to speak to us. That maybe didn't get out of the aisle. I just want to be careful that somebody didn't want to speak.
Somebody looking to speak on this subject matter and this subject matter only?
No? Okay, thank you. I'm sorry. I saw somebody move, Mayor, and I just wanted to make sure that everybody had a chance.
Council President McGowan?
Yes.
Councilman Errico?
Yes.
Councilman Guzman?
Yes.
Councilwoman Del Rey-Cohen?
Yes.
Councilman Mazzone?
Yes.
Thank you. Now we're going to move to the hearing of citizens. Anyone from the public wishing to speak about any matter, please step forward to the microphone. Mr. LeBruno is there.
You're welcome. Thank you. David Labruno, 423 Stuyvesant. Just about one of the resolutions on there, it talks about a spending plan, $2 million that will go to KIP property, where the housing was offloaded, affordable housing from Agnew. And I was wondering why that contribution is. I thought the affordable housing was offloaded from Agnew onto the KIP property, and then they would be responsible for paying for that. So I'm wondering why our spending plan calls for $2 million to be given to that project. Secondly, I just want to address some of the things that were said. I can appreciate, I take people as they come. I didn't say anything or impugn anyone's ethics. I just want to make that clear. I did not, you can create as many straw men as you want and knock them down. I don't have a problem with it. But I did not impugn anyone's ethics. I asked the gentleman who was saying that it would never happen. I'll listen back to the tape and see if he said never. But he said that it wouldn't happen. And I said, well, economics drives business. So just so we clarify that, so we're certain what I said and what I didn't say. So secondly, I wanted to say about, Mr. Errico mentioned that there'll be plenty more opportunities, but I would add a caveat to that, because when we pass zoning, then whatever zoning is permitted, then the person who owns the property can perform underneath that zoning. This zoning will allow 74 units to be built. So if they come with 74 units and they meet the wiring requirements and all this other kind of stuff that the planning board looks at, then there's no way that this council could stop anything, just so that the public is clear. Please correct me if I'm wrong. And then, I guess, let me think, let me look at my notes before I can, because there are a couple of things saying. I would agree, you know, we have to meet the requirements of the law, as Mr. Guzman said, about statutory, not statutory, but deadlines, so that we remain compliant. My point about our elected officials were those people at the state level are the ones who keep on passing these new acts that make these new requirements. And this council passes lots of resolutions endorsing many different things at the state level. We have people who want us to endorse various laws that they want to have passed at the state level that were not signed by Governor Murphy, that are being reintroduced for Governor Sherrill to sign, having to do with immigration, so are related to that. And I guess they're going to ask you tonight what you're going to do about that, and you'll have some reasoned statement on that. So I'm just asking, if we disagree so much with what's happening, we don't want to pursue a lawsuit against this because it would cost hundreds of thousands of dollars, but we can make our voices heard in other ways, should we want to, is my point. And then, yeah, I guess other than that, I can't read my notes about Stephanie, so I'll have to speak with her after. Thank you.
Thank you.
You have to get to the microphone.
Get online if you want.
Good. Greetings, Mayor, council members. I'm Reverend Annie Allen. I'm pastor of the Rutherford Congregational Church, 2A East Passaic Avenue in Rutherford. On January 2nd of this year, I stood before this body and I prayed for each and every one of you. I sincerely prayed a blessing upon you that you may serve this community with courage, with vision, and with hearts of compassion. I'm here today with the same prayer, that you stand to protect the most vulnerable in our community. I'm asking for a firm and clear statement from this body in the form of a Protect Our Neighbors resolution. This resolution, we hope, would support the immigration protection bills in our state. The legislation currently working its way through the legislature will include a bill that will codify into law the Attorney General's Immigration Trust Act directive. The directive states that local authorities are responsible for enforcement of criminal law, not federal immigration law. In doing so, the directive makes clear that victims and witnesses can report crimes to law enforcement without fear that they would be turned over to federal immigration authorities. We have the utmost confidence in our police chief, John Russo, but we are here, Mayor and Council, we are asking for you as our governing body to make a statement. As our public officials, we depend on you to protect the civil rights and the civil liberties of our residents, and irrespective of their immigration status. We are asking that you affirmatively take a stand against governmental outreach and abuse, specifically the abuses of the Department of Homeland Security and the Immigration Customs Enforcement Agency. I urge you to follow the lead of our New Jersey Attorney General and the lead of our governor, who have been taking very strong and firm and clear stands against bad actors in the federal government, and urge the restoration of civility, prudence, and the rule of law. I understand that there are those in our community who support the actions of the federal government. I know that passing such a resolution would risk alienating some of our neighbors and some of our voters, some of your voters, some of our neighbors. But I'd also like to mention a little bit about fear, that Governor Murphy in his final radio broadcast stated that he did not want to wage war, World War III on Washington. We are long past that. ICE is already, armed ICE officers are already surrounding Rutherford. In all of our towns around our community, they are already here. They're building they're filling our detention centers, they're building warehouses and ramping up operations. Our residents deserve to feel safe in our town. Lastly, this resolution would not in any way prevent ICE from doing their lawfully mandated actions. It would not, the resolution would not limit or hinder the federal actions at all. But what it would do is send a clear message to our residents, our neighboring municipalities, and the state of New Jersey, what we stand for and how we live here in Rutherford. It sends a signal of support to our governor and our state legislature, and it will encourage them to continue their initiatives to protect our immigrant population. Martin Luther King Jr. once said that the arc of history is long, but it bends towards justice. And I pray that this body will be on the right side of history. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Folks, you're going to have to, I did give Pastor Annie a little more liberty as far as the time goes, but you guys are going to have to keep your comments to 5 minutes or less, okay?
I'm the longest, that's why I went first.
And you knew I was going to let you go, so.
Hi, my name is Kenya Fernandez. I'm at 24 Walnut, a naturalized American citizen. I voted for some of you, not all of you, but I'm happy to see you all here. I think we all agree that we have all sworn an oath to the same Constitution that gives us all equal rights and due process. As a naturalized American, that's what I expect. Unfortunately, today, ICE is being allowed to violate my civil rights, my equal protection, and my due process. I have been confronted by ICE right here in front of the Candlewick Diner, just outside of Rutherford, okay? So ICE confronting me, they have the right now to pick me up on the basis of my appearance, my name, my nationality of birth, my speaking Spanish to my mother. This should not happen. I am not opposed to ICE doing what they legally should be doing. But I think that everyone, Democrat, Republican, Independents, everyone in Rutherford should agree that we should all have equal protection under the law. And if we don't, you have to ask yourself, who's next? For those of you who are afraid of a rogue government, I have to remind you of the words of Audre Lorde, your silence will not protect you. But the fear of losing the rule of law and the equal protection under the law and the due process that we all expect to live under, that should concern everybody in Rutherford. And Rutherford should speak with one voice on this issue. No ICE in Rutherford. Thank you.
Thank you, man.
Hi, Mayor, council members, and neighbors. My name is Sarah Asher. I live at 17 Monona Avenue. You've seen my face speak up here before. I'm a member of Rutherford Indivisible. As you can see, there's a large group of us, and only growing every day, that will continue to speak up on some of the issues that myself and the rest of my friends are going to be talking about. I ask three main things of the council members tonight. One, pass a Protect Our Neighbors resolution in support of codifying the Immigration Trust Directive. Many others here can more eloquently describe why we need those and the reasons behind it are evident to me. I don't feel that I should need to describe why we need to protect our neighbors, why no one should live in fear of walking down the street, going to the diner. It's not okay. My second ask of the council is to publicly commit to and provide additional and ongoing information, resources, and training in order to protect our neighbors.
I understand and I want to thank the council for taking a first step with a Know Your Rights training. I would like to see more additional forms of that, how we can include members of law enforcement. What I don't want to see is some of our neighbors, if they are interacted with ICE inappropriately, as we've seen across the country and in our in fellow townships, how will the police officers be affected? Are they going to be lumped into the same category as those inappropriate and bad actors that some of these ICE agents are? We want to be able to help support our law enforcement officers who are doing a great job and have them be protecting this community, as opposed to having some folks see them as also bad actors like some ICE agents are. And I just want to make note that we're not going to be the first town to stand up and make a stance and provide information and resources. We're not the first, second, or third. There are dozens of towns now that have passed resolutions, have made statements by other mayors, and have provided other information and resources and training. We're not looking to be the first, but we can add to this growing list with that. My third and final ask of the council is to continue to make additional public stances on how the council will protect our neighbors on immigration protections. Whether that's comment on these meetings tonight, whether that's making a statement with the newsletter that comes out on a regular basis that may lead to a wider source of viewership than just those folks that are standing here tonight. And some of the things that we may not be thinking about are the burden that if ICE comes here and the inappropriate actions are taken in this town, how that will affect businesses, how that will affect people moving out of the town, how will that affect our police department, how will that affect building and zoning laws and ordinances. What if they want to take over a building here? What ordinances can we look at that are going to protect our neighbors and not allow any sort of detention facility here as well? I think the council needs to be wildly proactive in thinking ahead of all of these bad issues that could potentially come, because they are happening in other neighboring towns. And my final statement is that those that live, work, and play and enjoy Rutherford, we all want just transparency and to uplift our neighbors and how each member of the council can protect our neighbors. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi guys, switching hats, indivisible. Denise Corradini, 1 Walnut Street. You know, I was here last month and I appreciate the comments that I got from you both from the dais and privately. And I really appreciate the fact that you guys are moving forward through the Civil Rights Commission with a Know Your Rights session. But it's still not enough. The resolution is extremely important. I wasn't born here. I chose to live here. I chose to stay here in large part because of the diversity of our community. And now those diverse populations are under attack because the President of the United States supports white supremacist doctrine. And that is just what it is. Our ask was to demonstrate to those communities that we support them by fostering the momentum already in the state legislature and affirmed by Governor Sherrill to put forward and pass the balance of the bills that make our state's immigrant protection bills. We need to be a part of that push. We need to stand up for these people. As Sarah said, it not only protects them, but it also protects our police department and our municipality by saying we're not the same, we're different, we're standing up. And according to the Newark Police Department, nothing in the directive limits their ability to enforce state criminal law or suggest that New Jersey provides sanctuary to individuals who commit crimes. Local police simply cannot question, arrest, search, or detain anyone based on immigration status. And they cannot ask for immigration status unless it is relevant to their investigation. They can't participate in ICE civil immigration enforcement operations, nor can they provide ICE with access to state or local law enforcement resources. That's a perfectly reasonable assumption. And we need the community to know that they can go to the police because they are facing spousal abuse or they have been attacked by someone. They need to feel comfortable going to the police, going to a hospital. So what my ask here is that we put together a resolution that supports the immigrant, I'm gonna say this wrong, the Immigrant Trust Directive being codified into law and the immigration privacy bills and codify them into law to give them teeth. We can't be passive, we really have to act. Thanks.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Patrick DeRoma. I'm actually a resident of Woodridge over in 115 Truman Drive. I happen to work doing advocacy here, not my job, but I do advocacy here as a part of Rutherford Indivisible. I'm here today to request that you all pass the resolution to support our immigrant neighbors. I listened in on the rest of the meeting and got to understand a little bit about the recent development ordinance that you guys are dealing with. And I heard a sentiment expressed during that conversation. It was the idea that we have a lot of state-level lawmakers who aren't familiar with the community, who are imposing things on us. And this resolution is really your opportunity to voice back to those state-level lawmakers what this community is about. Because when I come here and I participate in protests with many of your neighbors, when I go down to Delaney Hall and I provide mutual aid to people visiting their loved ones who have been detained there, what I see is a beautiful, diverse community here of people who care about their immigrant neighbors. And I think it's imperative that we speak up with one voice and let Trenton know that we value our immigrant neighbors and that we're not going to tolerate ICE coming in and abducting people off the street. Thank you.
Aaron Kleinbaum, 62 West Pierpont Avenue. Mayor and Council, I'll try to be brief. You've already heard a lot of the detail. Just to summarize, during the recent lame duck session of the New Jersey legislature, they passed 3 bills protecting immigrant rights. Former Governor Murphy signed only one of them. We are here, we being Rutherford Beacon, Rutherford Indivisible, and the Rutherford Congregational Church, we're here to call for the mayor and council to further the protection of our neighbors and further and support what the Democratic legislature passed last session and has introduced this session, a commitment to strengthen our immigrant neighbors' trust in public agencies, and also to support democratic values. So we want the council, the mayor and council, to pass a Protect Our Neighbors resolution and support codifying the New Jersey Attorney General's Immigrant Trust Directive. I have shared with some of the council a proposed resolution. I'll share that with you right now. I'd like to make it part of the record. I love immigrants, asylum seekers, and our democracy. I'm the grandchild of immigrants, so it's personal. And I'm the beneficiary of democratic values that allowed my family to flourish in this country and in this borough, so it's personal. Every Thursday, I join a national interfaith group, Beacon for Democracy. We take to the streets for 30 minutes with our neighbors and with our signs to stand and fight up for an American democracy and human rights, and protesting the cruelty that we see from our federal government. We call this demonstration Shine the Light, and we're doing it every week and around the country for a year, and in Rutherford since last summer. You're welcome to join us. Thank you.
Hello. My name is Gülseren Gillum. It is 31 Ivy Place, Rutherford. And I live in Rutherford since 1999. And I pay $22,000 a year. So I think I have some voice. I should be having some voice here, you know. I don't know how it matters, but they built a new building in Union Avenue, and I was watching that. And the whole lot is a building. And it stops the traffic view. And also, according to the Rutherford building law, every building is supposed to have 20%, 25% green. I don't see any green for new buildings, developer or not. I don't understand so much your, legal jumbo mumbo. But what I'm asking to Rutherford, just can you please keep on your own law so we can do too? It's just, not only the traffic view blocks this new building, all the other apartments that they are building here, they have no place left, no green area. It's just the whole land, whole building. It really bothers me. Not only the density, it's just everything what they do, those boxes. I'm against everything anyway, but I'm against these new buildings. I don't know how much my voice accounts, but I just wanted to make sure I told my opinion on that one. Anyway, I have another issue that I filed a permit for my garage fixing, existing garage fixing. But building department in Rutherford, it's been 2 years. They did not deny, but didn't accept my permit to fix my garage. All my garage equipment, everything belongs to my engineer. Husband is ruined under the rain. I'm just trying to fix my garage. And it's been 2 years now. At the end of May, it will going to be 2 years. According to the law, building department only can hold the permit for 2 years. After that, I think the lawyers will going to know better that it will going to give me a reason to sue them back. And my garage is falling apart. I just wanted to fix it, but Frank Canavati did not give me the permit. Reason being, he said that I will put a second floor on my garage, but there is no such a thing because architecture drawing shows that I never ask anything additional. Personally, I tried so many times to communicate with them, and nobody didn't answer. Also, Mr. Nunziado, I sent you so many emails. You should be reading your emails. Anyway, but I did not get any resolution. Meanwhile, building department blamed me for the smear campaign that I'm trying to turn my house to the 3rd, 4th floor. Something. I never filed this. That they are just throwing a shit in the wall or something. I don't know. Excuse my language. Anyway, they blame me a bunch of things I did not do at all. And everything I said, I can prove with the paperwork.
Ma'am, you're at your 5 minutes, though.
I made 2 years paperwork. Everything is in writing, everything provable. I made a complaint to the Trenton too, but what I understand is there is no such a power on top of the building department. There is no power. Building department do whatever they want.
Ma'am, you're at your 5 minutes. You can actually speak to the borough administrator tomorrow regarding your issues with the building department.
Who?
Gentleman at the end. You could reach out to him tomorrow, schedule a meeting, and discuss that issue with him.
Okay, I tried to schedule several times with the clerks, but they did not give me an appointment. Also, I have to mention that too. Over the years, 2 years now.
Ma'am, they don't do appointments. You'd have to send an email to the borough administrator. He's on the website.
Yeah, but my request is...
Ma'am, your time is up.
I'm so sorry. I apologize. Can you please change the Frank Recanati? He's
He's
not
gone,
John
ma'am.
Yule.
He's gone.
He's gone? Really? Thank you.
I'm now going to close it to the public and open it up for any council comment. Councilwoman.
Hi, everybody. I'm going to start with Kenya. Hi, Kenya. Hello. I want to start with you because you've been directly impacted by what everyone is discussing, and not that your other comments are not worthwhile, but I think that it's important to address you first. So my apology for what you went through sounds so meaningless, but I wanted to acknowledge that it happened, and I'm terribly sorry it happened. The other thing I want to say is for those in the room that there was reference to a Know Your Rights session. We are one of the very few municipalities in the state that has a Civil Rights Commission. We're very fortunate in that way. It was started, the history of the Civil Rights Commission is really fascinating, and I won't bring it to you now, but it was started during the Civil Rights Movement in the 1960s by a councilman, and we're very lucky to have it. We're very fortunate that the Civil Rights Commission exists because this is exactly the type of effort that they are encouraged to take upon for us. So the Civil Rights Commission has agreed to host a Know Your Rights session. For those that don't know, a Know Your Rights session is exactly that. It's having a professional explain to the community what their rights are and are not with regards to dealing with things like ICE. I wanted to tell you a little bit about the individual that's going to be hosting that session for the Civil Rights Commission. His name is Diego Gonzalez Cordero. Diego is the rapid response attorney for the Rutgers Immigrant Community Assistance Project. Diego offers Rutgers students free and confidential campus-based immigration legal service. And he directs representation for students that are currently enrolled in the university system. So he, of course, helps university students. But what he also does is advocates for and empowers the immigrant community through educational programming and community engagement, which is what we've asked him to do for us. He also had a lot of experience. I don't know if you're all familiar with the organization Make the Road New Jersey, but Make the Road New Jersey is a nonprofit that's focused in New Jersey on advancing immigrant rights. So Diego spent part of his career working for Make the Road New Jersey, and then he chose to go back to Rutgers to help run their immigration clinic. Diego is a fantastic resource. I feel very lucky that he's agreed to do this for us. The other reason I feel very lucky, and for those of you that were at our last meeting and were troubled by how long our closed session lasted, I wanted to acknowledge that the reason that closed session lasted as long as it did is because we had a very robust conversation around what this all means, what we are capable of doing, and what it can accomplish. We also had the benefit of Chief Russo participating in that closed session. Even though he was out of town, he participated at night via Zoom to give us his perspective. So on March 24th at 7 p.m. in this room, Diego, who I just described, as well as Chief Russo, are going to make themselves available to the community. Why I think it's important that we discuss that event as being the critical issue that we handle, the critical thing that we do, is I don't feel equipped to know where my greatest impact can be. I understand your ask for a resolution. I'll tell you my frustration with resolutions. They really are just a statement of position. They are not ordinances. They don't change the law. It's really is the same as us writing an email to the governor's office saying, hey, listen, we agree. I don't think personally that's our greatest impact. I'm not to say that shouldn't happen, but what I think should happen first is for us to get educated, myself included, by a professional on where we can make our greatest impact. That's going to happen on March 24th. So from my perspective, gosh, I can't believe I'm using the cart and the horse again, because that horse is really tired after this meeting. But for me, the horse in this scenario is the Know Your Rights session. Ms. Asher and Ms. Cordini, you both sort of said that's not enough. I'm not ready to say that's not enough until I do it. So I encourage you all to attend and do it. And then after we do it, if we decide the resolution is still the way to go, let's have a conversation. So from my perspective, that's 2 weeks away, less than 2 weeks away. And I'd like us to get really educated and clear on where our impact could be. What I'm gonna ask of Indivisible is get people to come to this session, right? Like, I think that we're asking for something, and I think that we need to make sure people know about it. I always, like, reasonable minds differ. I never know who actually reads the newsletter. Like, I don't really know. Like, I know it's a resource. It was a resource that I think the governing body started during COVID, and I think during that time it was super important. I just always question like how much it really does get access. So I can't believe I'm doing this, but I'm encouraging you to use Facebook to like spread the word. I never really encourage us to share information on Facebook because it's never always accurate, but about the Know Your Rights session. I think that's really important. And I think that it will get us part of the way there. For me, after that session, if we still think a resolution, which frankly is just a piece of paper asking, like saying something we support is necessary, I'm open to it. But I really want to hear from Diego and our chief first to see what concerns we can allay and how we can like actually action our fear and action our energy. You're already doing it in so many ways. I think there are probably more ways that, that we can do it. I think... Patrick, I didn't get your last name. I just wanted to thank you for being here. I always appreciate when folks from other communities come to speak to us. Yeah, I think that, Sarah, you used the phrase, I circled it, wildly proactive. I want to be wildly proactive. I think that I frankly, much to my husband's chagrin, I do everything with wild proactivity, and it really serves to his disadvantage. But in this instance, it's appropriate, and I think it's important. Pastor Annie, I'm always stealing a quote from you. Today, it's the art of history is law, but it bends towards justice. That's now I'm stealing that from you and Martin Luther King Jr., I guess. So I appreciate you being here. Mr. LeBruno, thank you for clarifying your comments. The only thing I'll say is that you said I would build straw men. I think you know me well enough. I would only build straw women, but I appreciate your clarity. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Councilman?
Thank you, Mayor. I just wanted to echo the sentiments of my colleague. I really appreciate everyone coming out tonight and speaking on this topic. I think, you know, we in Rutherford often think that we live in a little bit of a bubble here because we are in many ways isolated from some of the larger events happening on the federal level. But hearing everyone speak reminds me that we are very much involved in these national and statewide issues. And I think implicit in Councilwoman Del Ricon's comments is our shock, or at least I would speak for myself, my shock and disgust and continual amazement at what is occurring on a national level, and to the extent that that occurs locally, and that we could do something locally to impact it is something that I find very meaningful and very interesting. And again, to echo the comments of speaking up and coming to the Know Your Rights session, I do think it's appropriate to have a public forum in which we can express these opinions and voices more broadly to the whole community with our professionals, including our police, to understand what we can do and how we can be most impactful. But I don't want The fact that we're not, passing a resolution at this exact moment to in any way be used as a reflection of our agreement or acquiescence to these actions, I think it's very much the opposite. At least I'll speak for myself personally. Thanks.
Thank you. Councilman.
Thank you very much, Mayor. Once again, I have to say I agree with my council colleagues' comments here. Just want you to know that I hear you, I feel you, definitely. I need to be more educated, and I appreciate the events, the efforts for this event to happen on March 24th, to know your rights. At the end of the day, this is what makes our community amazing, what's happening here today. I only ask that you get people to attend and to know your rights. This is how we get more of the community on board. This is how we understand, we as elected officials get to understand that there's a lot more people out there that may not be able to make these meetings, or maybe they pique their interest by it because maybe they, maybe they need to know their rights or want to know their rights. Get those people out there, bring them to this meeting. I will be there. I will be getting educated. I have to tell you, I don't know Diego yet, but I do know our chief of police here, which is a fine example of the finest here in the state of New Jersey. We're lucky we have him in his department. So let's all get educated together, may I say. Let's learn our rights. Let's see what this is more about. Let's go step by step here, one at a time. I appreciate you all coming tonight. Thank you very much.
Councilman.
I want to start by thanking Rutherford Indivisible, the Beacon, certainly Rutherford Congregational Church, and all my friends for coming out. I think it's important. Advocacy in this country, especially now, I think is crucial. I'll offer to you, again, what I would say is my unique perspective. I think, as my council colleagues have said, we're very fortunate in Rutherford. We have a tremendous police department. Our police department already follows the Immigrant Trust Directive that was promulgated in, I think, 2018 and then followed up in 2019 by the then Attorney General. That being said, in my full-time professional life, I'm responsible for campus public safety at Teachers College at Columbia University. That means I get to sit in John Russo's seat there on the campus. That means I have the responsibility of explaining to our community what it means for you to be safe and how do we keep you safe. So since you were last here, I had ICE visit the Columbia University campus. You may have heard about it. So that created a proverbial you-know-what storm on our campus. It created angst, it created anxiety, it created all sorts of real and perceived threats. We have a high immigrant and international student, faculty and staff population, everything from our daycares to our students to our faculty and staff. We held a right to know session. I will tell you, there is so much tremendous value in having this session. We had an attorney come in from a different law firm, but again, they told us the do's, the don'ts, the maybes, and the perhapses. They told us what we should carry on ourselves while we're traveling around the 5 boroughs or our home communities, what we should carry on us if we're traveling in or out of this country. And I think it's important to recognize that because you don't have all the same rights as you're traveling into this country before you cross over through customs and borders. So I learned a lot. I will be there on the 24th because I'm here for you. I want to stand with you. And like Councilwoman Delray Cohen had said, is that if, when this is all said and done, and to borrow Sarah's words about being wildly proactive, I made that note as well, I'm in. Thank you.
Thank you. Council President.
Thank you, Mayor. Great comments, everyone. Thank you. I totally agree. First, I'm going to start with, I'm sorry, I was just trying to decide which way I want to go in my notes here. Mr. LaBruno, I didn't want you to think we forgot to answer your question. The $2 million that you referenced, that was the money that was put into an account that accounts for the 6 units from the Parker that were paid for, and plus a few additional dollars that we were required from other ancillary projects under our affordable housing requirements. I talked about rounds 1, 2, right? So what we did was work with the developer who's building that site. You know, I've spoken about this at great length. This is something, you know, as we are navigating very difficult waters about what affordable housing looks like for Rutherford, it's us really taking charge and defining what it is we want it to look like, because we want it to reflect our community. I'm very, very proud that in that project are designated units for supportive housing, the first that we've ever done in Rutherford, because we acknowledge that there are individuals with intellectual and developmental disabilities that are waiting 20 years for an apartment. Just wanted to kind of put it out there. So when you ask where those $2 million are going and why it was put in there, that was the money that we took while we were doing these other projects, because we wanted to make sure that we were committing to something that our residents have been asking us for. And so that is in fact what it is. So nothing exciting to see except us being responsible and doing our due diligence and following through with what we said. Every comment has value that's been shared tonight. I thank my council colleagues who willingly stood forward and made a promise to all of you, although you weren't here to hear it. Maybe you saw it on the video, right? Yeah, I know we were like on forever, and when we came back, there was crickets in the room. But do not think for a second we didn't hear your voices echoing. And so I am smart enough to tell you I know it's not what you're asking for. Right? And so there's always, like in good negotiation, there's an offer, there'll be a counter offer. I feel good that this dialogue is going to go on. Perhaps we'll have some inside jokes like I have with my other colleague in the room. And not that I'm making light of this remotely, but more to say that I think what I hope we all take away from this is that there's an open dialogue happening, that you're being heard, that we're trying to move the needle. Hopefully we start educating members of our community. I too will be standing with my colleagues to learn more, because admittedly, I've read everything that y'all have sent. I've read all of the emails. I've read the stuff. You know, we were talking about our representation earlier, about who votes what. I'm happy to say that the people that are representing our community, they are doing what they need to do there, so we don't have to pound. You talked about being an action item. Christy knows I love nothing more than to harass those people that are a part of District 36 to make sure that what they're doing when they're in Trenton recognizes and are the needs of what we need here in Rutherford. So I'm happy to say it appears that they are doing what we need them to do. But there's a lot of work to be done. So I look forward to learning. I look forward to this continued dialogue. I thank you all for the preparation you put into coming here this evening, and the fact that you gave up your time freely to be here with us to share your passion. So thank you for that. Mayor, thank you. I'm finished.
Thank you. Thank you all for coming out tonight. We're going to move on now with our regular agenda. Resolution separate from consent. Council President, please.
Thank you, Mayor. First is Resolution Number 69, approving a 4th round Affordable Housing Trust Fund spending plan and requesting court approval of the spending plan. Motion.
All right, motion by the Council President. May I have a second?
Second.
Second by Councilman Guzman. Any questions or comments? Seeing none, may I have a roll call, please?
Council President McGowan?
Yes.
Councilman Errico?
Yes.
Councilman Guzman?
Yes.
Councilman Del Ricon?
Yes.
Councilman Mazzone?
Yes.
Thank you. Next is Resolution Number 70, adopting the affirmative marketing plan. Motion.
I have a motion by the Council President. May I have a second, please?
Second.
Second by Councilwoman Del Ricon. Any questions or comments? Seeing none, may I have a roll call, please?
Council President McGowan?
Yes.
Councilman Errico?
Yes.
Councilman Guzman?
Yes.
Councilman Del Ricon?
Yes.
Councilman Mazzone?
Yes.
Thank you. Next is Resolution Number 71, adopting the Bergen County Multi-Jurisdictional Hazard Mitigation Plan motion.
I have a motion by the council president. May I have a second?
Second.
Second by Councilman Maison?
Zone.
I didn't know if it was you or Ray. Any questions or comments? Seeing none, may I have a roll call?
Council President McGowan?
Yes.
Councilman Erico?
Yes.
Councilman Guzman?
Yes.
Councilman Del Rey Cohen?
Yes.
Councilman Mazon?
Yes.
Thank you. Consent agenda, please.
Thank you, Mayor. All items are authorized to be consent by the council will be enacted by one motion. These items are routine in nature. Motion.
I have a motion by the council president. May I have a second?
Second.
Second by Councilman Guzman. Any questions or comments? Seeing none, may I have a roll call?
Council President McGowan?
Yes.
Councilman Erico?
Yes.
Councilman Guzman?
Yes.
Councilman Del Rey Cohen?
Yes.
Councilman Mazon?
Yes.
Thank you. We have no new business to discuss, and I know how much you all want to keep your liaison reports to a minimum. So we'll start with the council president.
You need to start the clock, Mayor. I'm joking, of course, maybe. Actually, Mayor, I'm going to forego most of my report tonight, but there is one thing that I feel necessary to bring to everyone's attention. Clearly, my council colleagues are aware, but I want our residents to be aware that tonight under our consent agenda, we authorize the placement of a memorial bench in remembrance of Mark Toby Gentile. It will be on the corner of where Park Avenue and Ridge Road begins, right at the triangle part of the church. Toby was, I can't call him Mark. I mean, I'm sure right now I can hear him laughing in my head, but, you know, Toby was just a staple of this community. I miss seeing him on Park Avenue, as many of us do. Amazing how you could miss somebody asking you, who cares? His presence is missed, but there's something very beautiful about the fact that this bench will be there for folks who knew him and those who didn't, to stop and have a moment and to just be. And so I want to really thank his family and his friends, this community, the fire department, everybody who has rallied to make this memorial happen. And I want to thank Bob, I want to thank the Borough Administrator for working with the family in finding something that was appropriate and beautiful and just such an incredible tribute to a dear friend. So I withhold the rest of my report, and I'd like to just end it thinking about him. Thank you.
Councilman Coakley's not with us tonight. Councilman Erico.
Thank you, Mayor. I will also be quite brief. I want to mention that the Michael Cassidy Shamrock and Run 5K is this Saturday morning. It's a race throughout Rutherford, so if you see road closures during the Saturday morning, it's for that race. It's the 15th year this is going on. It's a great race. I've run it many prior years, although I won't be running it this year. So I think the world record for a sitting council person time at the race will not be improved on, although I encourage my colleagues to challenge it and participate in it if they're so inclined. I also want to thank the schools, the Board of Education, for inviting me to participate in Read Across America Day. I didn't get to participate in that last year, and I did it this year, and it was extremely fun. And the certificate that I got telling me that I was a good reader is one of my most treasured things. I don't know why, I just love it. So thank you so much for inviting me.
Thank you. Councilman Guzman.
Thank you, Mayor. I have no new business this evening. However, I just want to once again congratulate our Rutherford Irish for an amazing celebration, an amazing parade. It was quite a celebration, and Rutherford once again is shining very bright on that day, and where we were all Irish, and it's quite amazing to see such an event here in our borough. So I thank them very much for all of their efforts. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman. Councilwoman Del Rey Cohen.
Thank you, Mayor. On behalf of the Rutherford Civil Rights Commission, I just wanted to alert everyone who may not have already seen that in honor of International Women's Day week and, of course, Women's History Month, the Rutherford Civil Rights Commission is again spotlighting Rutherford women of impact. So it's any women, leaders, mentors, advocates, change makers who lift each other up in Rutherford. They are accepting nominations for folks, women in particular, or persons that identify as women who deserve recognition. Nominations are open until March 14th, which I guess is Saturday. If you'd like information about how to nominate someone, you can go to the Rutherford Civil Rights Commission Instagram or Facebook, or of course you can go ahead and email me and I'll make sure you get that information. Last year was the first year that they did this program, and it was really wonderful. All the photos of the Rutherford women that were nominated were posted in the library alongside books that were geared towards Women's History Month. So that's just a little plug for my other liaison assignment, which is the library. To that end, I wanted to congratulate the library and the foundation on the mini golf event that I heard was a wild success. Unfortunately, I couldn't attend this year, but that was a really wonderful event, both a family event and an event for adults. And finally, I just wanted to thank the Rutherford Pride Alliance for hosting a number of us at their bowling event. I proved once again, I know that John was sort of bragging about being a fast runner. I'd like to brag about being a terrible bowler. I don't think that there's anyone that scored as low as me in my lane as well. Stephanie may have come close second, but I was the worst, and I'm really proud of it. But it was a wonderful, wonderful event. Really community driven, and we had a wonderful time, so thank you.
Thank you. Just briefly, I also was at the Pride Alliance bowling event. Great time, terrible bowler, but good time had by all. Glad they hosted it and hope they do it again soon. Only other thing I wanted to add is that the Rutherford Health Department is going to be hosting the vaccination clinic for rabies on the 28th. So if you could, have a pet that needs to be vaccinated, please take advantage. It's completely free. Hours are posted online. You can also get your dog or cat license there at the same time. So thank you.
Oh, excuse me, can I just say one word, Mayor? 2 words, thank you. Yeah, I want to take this opportunity, since Councilman Guzman referenced the St. Patrick's Day Parade. I want to thank and recognize our Department of Public Works, and led by Chris Seiler, for without them and their efforts, that parade would not have happened. I want to thank them publicly for everything they did in getting that parade route safe and ready for a phenomenal day that we had. And also thank them for their efforts the entire winter. It's been 2 extremely challenging, difficult storms they've had to deal with, and they worked their tails off, and I'm just so proud of them and want to thank them publicly. So that's all I want to say, Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you, and thanks for stopping me, because I actually do need the council consent on the summer camp staff. So I'd ask for council consent. I'd ask for a motion. Motion by Council President. May I have a second?
Second.
Second by Councilman Guzman. Any questions or comments? Seeing none, may I have a roll call, please?
Council President McGowan?
Yes.
Councilman Erico?
Yes.
Councilman Guzman?
Yes.
Councilwoman Del Rincon?
Yes.
Councilman Mazzone?
Thank you. Now I'll accept the motion to adjourn.
Motion.
I have a motion by the council president. All in favor?
Aye.